event today is related to interpreting, and I would like to have some sort of opening remarks about the interpreting as a job. And I have entitled this short presentation as Tips for Prospective Interpreters, because I see you as prospective and future interpreters who will be doing this task, inshallah, in the futures. And I'm pretty sure that all of you have the skills, have the competencies, and most important, have the willingness to do the job. So we all agree that the interpreting and simultaneous translation is a challenging job. There's no question about that. It is like a challenge from the perspective of academics, researchers, and practitioners. We all agree that interpreting is a difficult task. But what mitigates this task is the willingness. Your willingness to do the job, to be engaged in this profession is very important. You have to have the desire, the willingness and readiness to be an interpreter. So this is something very important. You have to have a sense of joy. When you do interpreting, you should have that willingness to do interpreting and translation in general. If you don't have this sense, if you don't have this willingness, and if you don't enjoy it, then I would simply say, sorry, you are in the wrong business. All of you should do the translation because you like to do it, and this is something very important. And as I said, you do it because you would like to do it. And as someone who had been doing interpreting and translation for now almost a century, and this is probably makes me very old, because I started doing translation since I was a student myself. I have had some tips for you, because myself I have worked in different companies here in Iraq and abroad in the United States when I was doing my PhD. I have some tips for you and advices for the prospective interpreters. So I would like to say that concentration and undivided attention is very important. When you come to do interpreting, you should be fully aware and fully engaged during the process. You shouldn't get distracted. You should concentrate on every single word during the process itself. This is something very important. And related to this point is sleeping well. When you come to do an interpretation job, you should be ready both physically, psychologically, and mentally. It is very important, and this is related to having a good amount of rest before coming to the job itself. The other point that I want to remind you about is to have pen and paper, so you can write down any notes or sometimes jot down anything that you would like to pin down in order to perform the job in a good way. Definitely, you should dress well, introduce yourself in a professional manner, and have identification badge. So when you go to an interpretation job, of course, I'm talking about that from the perspective as someone who has been working in a company. I worked in the US in 5 different companies for interpreting and simultaneous interpreting. You should introduce yourself in a professional manner, dress well. This is part of the information and the advices that we are being provided by the company itself. You should also attend the meeting 10 minutes to 15 minutes before going to the place where you are going to perform your assignment, to have a sense of the environment and place. And definitely, you should stick yourself to the mission that you are going to perform, whether it is, for example, an interpreting for a court, whether it is for a medical interpreting. Just to try to behave professionally and stick yourself to the job that you have in hand. This is another important point. And I would like to end up this short presentation with a quote about the importance and the value of the professions that you are doing as an interpreter. This is for a person called George Steiner, and he said, without translation, we would be living in provinces bordering on silence. الترجمة لهذه العبارة معناها لولا الترجمة لعشنا في عالم حدوده الصمت. وشكرا جزيلا.